Lesson in 8.6 here is 8.6 day 2, which is continuing to solve rational expressions. So in 8.6 day 2 here, the difference is that we'll have more than one rational expression. So if we have more than one rational expression, our goal is to use an LCD to create equivalent fractions. Okay? That way, we can ignore the denominators and just work with the numerators to solve the expression, and once again, check for extraneous solutions. So, once again, this is going to go back to what we were working on with the simplification. So, in one, like number 1 here, if we want to subtract or if we want to solve for x here, we need to create a common denominator. So right now, if I was to make 4 a fraction, it would be 4 over 1. So I would have 8 as my denominator, 1 as my denominator, and 2 as my denominator. So that would mean that my LCD would be 8, because that's the least common denominator that I can form between all 3 of these fractions. So if I was to rewrite these fractions here, x squared over 8 minus 4 over 1 equals x squared. I want to multiply each of my fractions by a number so that my denominators equal 8. So in my first fraction, we're going to go denominator equals 8. In my second fraction, I have 1. So 1 times 8 equals 8. So I'd have to multiply both my numerator and my denominator by 8. Since my denominator is 2 of my last fraction, I could multiply this one by 4 over 4. All right, from here, I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So I've got x squared over 8 minus 4 times 8, which is 32. Oops. 32 over 8, which equals 4x over 8. All right, so now I have a common denominator of all 3 of these. Yet I would prefer to not work with my fractions. But now, since they all have a common denominator of 8, I could multiply 8 to both sides here. By multiplying 8 to both sides, that'll cause my denominators to cancel out. So essentially, all of my denominators are going to cancel, which leaves me with x squared minus 32 equals 4x. And this is an equation that I can solve pretty easily. From here, I do have a quadratic, so I'm going to set it equal to 0 by subtracting 4x to the other side. So that's going to give me x squared minus 4x minus 32 equals 0. Two numbers that multiply to negative 32 and add to negative 4 would be x minus 8 and x plus 4. And setting both of these equal to 0, that would get me the solutions of 8 and negative 4. All right, so that was a good warm-up question, and that's the process that we are going to follow with the next couple, which are slightly more complex. So looking at number 3, our first goal is to create a least common denominator. So looking at my components of my denominator, it looks like I have x's, and it looks like I have a 3. So since those are all the elements that I have in my denominator, my LCD would just be 3x. So looking at each of my fractions, my first fraction is 5/3. To make my denominator 3x, I have to multiply this one by x over x. For my second fraction, I've got 3 over x. So to make my denominator 3x, I have to multiply this one by 3 over 3 equals, and then my final fraction, negative 2 over x, once again, would have to be multiplied by 3 over 3. So now I'll go ahead and simplify this. So I've got 5x over 3x plus 9 over 3x equals negative 6 over 3x. So now I have a common denominator between all of my fractions. So now I'm going to undo my fractions by multiplying my denominator, 3x, to both sides. By doing this, my denominators are going to cancel, leaving me with 5x plus 9 equals negative 6. So now, solving for x, subtract 9 from both sides, which gives me 5x equals negative 15. Dividing by 5, I'm going to get x equals negative 3. And once again, you would have to check this by substituting it back into our original equation. In this case, we are good to go. All right, let's look at the last couple examples here. So on page number 2, this is a lot of the same. So I do have plus 2 in this case as one of my terms, so I'm just going to make that 2 over 1. So to find my LCD, I'm going to highlight all of my elements. I've got x minus 1 as one of my elements. I've got x as one of my elements. And then I've got 1 as my last element. Obviously, 1 isn't going to change things very much for me. So my LCD, I'm going to need an x minus 1. And I'm going to need a 1, which I don't have to list. And I'll also need an x. So my LCD is going to be x minus 1 times x, or x times x minus 1. That's probably how we'll format things. So now let's go through and create our common denominators. So we've got negative x plus 1 over x minus 1. To create my LCD here, I'm going to have to multiply this one by x over x plus 2 over 1, which I'll have to multiply this one by x times x minus 1 over x times x minus 1. Then my final fraction, I've got 1 over x. So I'm going to have to multiply this one by x minus 1 over x minus 1. All right. So now let's go ahead and simplify things. We are going to have to distribute each of these. So I'm distributing my x to my negative x plus 1, which is going to give me negative x squared plus x over my LCD, which I'm going to start writing it like this because that just makes a little more sense. Over here, I'm going to have 2x, and then I'm going to distribute that. So 2x times x, which would be 2x squared, 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2, over my common denominator. And then in my last fraction, I've got 1 times x minus 1, which is just x minus 1, over x times x minus 1. All right, so now I have a common denominator. So now I'm going to undo my fractions by multiplying both sides by x times x minus 1. Okay, which will leave me with negative x squared plus x plus 2x squared minus 2 equals x minus 1. So now I'm going to combine like terms on my left side just to simplify this a little bit. Negative x squared plus 2x squared is just going to give me x squared Oh, I forgot an x here. My bad. X minus 2x is just going to give me negative x equals x minus 1. Now I'm going to move my x minus 1 over to my left side as well, which will just leave me with x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and factor my trinomial here. So two numbers that multiply to 1 and add to 2, which would just be 1 and 1. So my factors would be x minus plus 1, x plus 1, which would equal 0, which would give me the solution of x equals negative 1. If you were to check this with our original equation for this one, you would see that this would not work. So negative 1 would be an extraneous solution, which would just leave me with no solution as my final answer. All right, one more and then we'll call it good. So the last one here with number 7, same exact process as the last one. So we'll have 2 over 1. Let's identify our LCD. So I've got x minus 2 as one of my denominators, 1 as one of my denominators, and 2 as one of my denominators. So that would mean that my LCD would be x minus 2. Oops, I'll undo that. And x plus 2. So to create my LCD here, I have my first fraction, which is 1 over x minus 2. To create my LCD, I'd have to multiply this one by x plus 2 over x plus 2. My second fraction here, I have 2 over 1, which would have to be multiplied by my entire LCD, x minus 2, x plus 2, over x minus 2, x plus 2, which equals 3x over x plus 2, which would have to be multiplied by x minus 2 over x minus 2. Okay, going ahead and simplifying this, I would have x plus 2 over my LCD. Okay, over here, this is a difference of squares, if you guys haven't noticed this yet. So I could simplify this to just be x squared minus 4, and then multiply 2 into that. So that could give me 2x squared minus 8 over x minus 2, x plus 2, which equals 3x squared minus 6x over my denominator, x minus 2, x plus 2. So now I have a common denominator, so I could multiply. Oops. Undo that. So I could multiply my LCD to both sides to undo my denominator. Which will just leave me with x plus 2 plus 2x squared minus 8, which equals 3x squared minus 6x. Combine my like terms. Over here, I would just be left with 2x squared plus x. 2 minus 8 is negative 6 equals 3x squared minus 6x. Now, since I have a quadratic, I would want to set this equal to 0. So on this one, I am going to move everything to my right side this time. So that would give me 0 equals 3x squared minus 2x squared, which is x squared, minus 7x plus 6. Okay, I can go ahead and factor this. Two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to negative 7 give me negative 6 and negative 1. So my factor form would be 0 equals x minus 6, x minus 1, which if I set both of those equal to 0, I would get x equals 6, x equals 1. And if you were to check both of these solutions, they would both work. All right, so once again, 8.6, there is a lot of math going on, yet all of this is basic Algebra 2 skills that we've been practicing all school year. All right, thanks for watching.